ironically, ever since the Fed cut, because the dollar has rallied and obviously interest rates have gone up, but they're still quite above normal. So that's pretty much the data we're looking at. I'd say the other thing I'm focused on, I've been obsessed with whether we were in the 70s, really since 2021, when this whole inflationary episode started. And I'd say 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, I was very confident that inflation was going to come down, which I was right on, but I was worried about the economy, which I was completely wrong on. More recently, and you can take this with a grain of salt since I had one right and one wrong there, I've switched to being more worried about inflation going forward than the economy itself. Why do I say that? If we go back to the 70s, there was an episode with OPEC that set off an inflation. You had a recession, and inflation came down, I think, from about 8 to 3.
And then went back up again.
Yes, and what's bothered me and what I have wanted to see, you're exactly right, it went back up again. It went back up again, and the number of months would correlate to the bottom being right about now.
Yeah.
So my confidence a year and a half ago was we're going to have that period where we came down again, and then we'd see. And I'm a little worried that the Fed has declared victory too early. I don't have conviction like I had in 21 that inflation was going to go up. That's when the money supply was growing 40% and all sorts of things were happening. But I also don't have conviction that they've snuffed this thing out and won the battle. And to cut 50 basis points with credit spreads tight, gold at new highs, equities roaring, no sign of weakness, material weakness in the economy. Of course, there's some spots. That just makes me nervous that this thing could turn up again.
What would make it turn up again? What would be the factors?
I think what I just said, easing into financial conditions. Let's say Trump wins. If Trump wins, you could have animal spirits from the business community who are dying for deregulation. You could have tariffs, which are on the margin inflationary. Immigration has been a great boon to this country. Maybe not the way it was done, but it certainly enabled us to have growth without inflation in labor materially the last 2 or 3 years. So the combination of animal spirits, recovery doing better than it is, I'm just open-minded to it. Again...
Why is it so urgent for the central bank to cut, given this?
Honestly, I don't take the nefarious view that Powell is doing it for quote-unquote political reasons. I do think he's obsessed with the soft landing, and I think he's obsessed with his legacy and having made the mistake he made in 21. And he's being egged on by other economists in the press. To me, the Fed's job is to avoid the big mistakes, like the 70s, like the great financial crisis, like the big inflation we just had. But all this fine-tuning and worrying about a soft landing, that is not the job of the Fed, in my opinion. It's to maximize employment for the long term, not for the next 3 months or the next 4 months. But I think the Fed's obsession with nailing this so-called soft landing, I would remind everybody that the reason we're having a landing is because they let inflation go from 2 to 9%.
Yeah.
So there was no need for a landing for 20 years. But I think that's what they're obsessed with. I don't know.
How much of a problem is the forward guidance?
It's a huge problem. My friend Jim Grant says they're forward guidance dependent, not data dependent. It's a problem because once you do forward guidance, you eliminate your optionality.
Yeah.
And I think, Nikolai, you and I being in this business, we know we have to change our mind when we're wrong.
Yeah.
This Fed has shown over and over again that they think if they change their mind, they're losing credibility. So it makes them have their hands tied behind their back. I'm wrong all the time. I think my record is mainly because When I'm wrong, I change my mind. Not that I'm always right, I'm certainly not. Forward guidance seems to tie them into positions where and eliminate flexibility they need.